Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are moving on to July's theme in my themed Letterboxd 4 series, which is superhero movies. So basically all this is just each month we take a different theme, category, genre, and we just take a look at what my Letterboxd 4 in that specific theme would be. Now if you haven't seen any previous videos in this series, there is a playlist on my channel where I've got this video and all of the others, so you can take a look at those. And you can look back. Last month we celebrated Pride Month, and then we did, sports and comedy, Black History Month, Best Picture winners, animated movies. I think that's all the categories that we've done so far. So you can take a look back at any of those. Now in each of those, how it works is at the beginning of the month or early-ish in the month, we take, this is the preview video where basically I tell you, what my current Letterboxd for is, and then we talk about a bunch of films that I'm going to see this month to see if any of those challenge for that Letterboxd 4 spot. And then at the end of the month, we do the results video. But this is the preview for July. So the first thing that we do before we start talking about current Letterboxd 4s and things like that is we talk about some of the rules and the exclusions. Now the rules on this is pretty simple, just has to be a superhero movie. And I mean, it's pretty, I think superhero typically is a pretty cut and dry, like it's an obvious category. There's not a whole lot of things that are kind of up for debate of like, is that superhero, So I think it's pretty simple, just has to be a superhero movie. The only rule that I'm really kind of implementing with that is kind of like the same thing I did with animated movies where I did only one entry per franchise. What I'm going to do here is I'm only doing one entry per superhero. And that is, because there is a good chance I think that my entire Letterboxd 4 could be at least 3, if not all 4 spots to Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero when I was a kid, and so I just kind of lean that way, kind of the same way in animated. I would have definitely had 3 of the 4 Toy Stories in my final Letterboxd 4, so I'm putting that's kind of the one rule that we're putting in here, is just one superhero, one film per superhero. And then as far as the exclusions go, one rule that I've put for the entirety of this series is once a film is used in any previous video, it's not eligible to be used again in a different category. That's just to prevent me just kind of telling you about the one film that I really love that would have fit in, 3 or 4 different categories. So we're doing that, and then I also just want to be able to celebrate, 4 different films each month all the way till the end of the year. I want this to be 48 different films that we're celebrating when we get to the end of the year. So that means that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is excluded from making this list because it was used in the Best Animated Film category. And without further ado, let's take a look at the current Letterboxd 4, The Dark Knight, The Incredibles, Logan, and Spider-Man No Way Home. So first off, I just want to let's just talk about The Incredibles first. I mentioned a couple months ago in my animated, when that fell out of the Letterboxd 4, I told you I had a pretty good feeling that it was going to be back in a couple months, and here it is. It's currently in the Letterboxd 4 for superhero films. And then I want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. That maybe seems a little weird as kind of the pick for if I'm doing one Spider-Man film. And I do think that there is a chance that, when I watch a bunch of Spider-Man movies this month, that could change. I will say that I know a lot of people, when it came out, everyone loved No Way Home, and then as time has gone on, it hasn't aged the way a lot of people hoped, and it just kind of feels a little goofy. So I get a lot of people have kind of turned on No Way Home. I still haven't. I still love it. And as a kid who Spider-Man was my favorite superhero growing up, No Way Home was just a very fun theatrical experience, and so I really do love No Way Home. I will be interested to see if, another Spider-Man kind of takes its spot. And then for The Dark Knight and Logan, those are 2 that are just like, I think universally everyone talks about those as some of the best superhero movies. And they were 2 that I was very late to see. I probably saw The Dark Knight the first time, maybe it's been like 5 years or so at this point. Logan I didn't see until I think it was Multiverse of Madness was coming out, and that's when I finally did an X-Men watch, because I just hadn't seen any X-Men movies at that point. And I knew that a lot of people loved Logan, and I knew that I would like it if I saw it even without really having like a deep knowledge of the character, but I'm glad that I waited to watch Logan until I had kind of seen everything else. And even though I'm still not just the biggest X-Men fan in general, or maybe necessarily the biggest Wolverine fan in general, there's no denying that Logan is an excellent film. And kind of the same with The Dark Knight. It took me forever to see that, and it had so much hype, and I went into it being like, there's no way it's going to live up to the expectations that I have for it based on how other people talk about it. And sure enough, The Dark Knight was amazing, so those both are getting the last two spots here in the Letterboxd for. And next up, we're going to take a look at three contenders. So these are three films that I have seen, but maybe it's been a little bit, and so maybe with an additional rewatch, we'll see if they have what it takes to leapfrog over something in the Letterboxd for. Avengers Infinity War, The Batman, and Spider-Man 2. Now, I was just talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. I didn't know for sure if that was maybe my pick, because Spider-Man 2 is the one that's kind of like leaning between the two. Spider-Man 2 was always my favorite of the Spider-Man trilogy, the trilogy I watched when I was a kid, and so that's the one that I think I'll be interested to see if that, that's kind of going to be the real Spider-Man battle. Plus, also, Across the Spider-Verse, I think also is going to be in there. There's going to be a Spider-Man film in the final Letterboxd 4, and I think it's a 3-horse race, and who knows, maybe rewatching some other films, something else will take its spot. But I'm super excited to watch that again. The Batman, I think, is pretty relevant right now with the if you're on Twitter, just the debates between the Dark Knight and the Batman, people going back and forth, and the correct answer is obviously they're both incredible films, and picking one over the other, it just kind of, it's not very all that important in the grand scheme of it, because I think at the end of the day everyone loves both films, and so it really does kind of seem silly to be putting that debate up there. But I guess I'm putting the debate here because I'm going to watch both of those, and probably one of them will get that final Letterboxd 4 spot. And then Avengers Infinity War I put in here. I think that's my favorite like non-Spider-Man film in the MCU, and I'll admit that I didn't see Infinity War when it was in theaters, because I didn't really. I guess this is maybe a good time to mention this in this video, that outside of Spider-Man, I wasn't a big superhero movie guy for the longest time. I just kind of felt like they were all kind of copy and paste. They all felt the same to me. I just kind of was never really interested in them. And then once you kind of get going and you start watching them, and you do see that there are, the trends, and there are a lot of the things that a lot of them do, and so there are some bad superhero movies. But then when you find the superhero movies that kind of step out of that, the bounds of that, and kind of, take on a little bit deeper of a story and things like that, all of a sudden you can find that there are a lot of great superhero movies that do make the category, the genre, fun to watch. But I just didn't watch anything, especially MCU, and MCU is also one because I was kind of behind on phases 1, 2, 3, and so once we were getting to this kind of era of the MCU in 2018-ish, I kind of just was checked out and didn't really care, because I was so far behind that I was like, I'm not going to go see the new one because I haven't seen any of the previous 15, 20 films. And so I just didn't see Infinity War until Endgame came out. I did a full watch. I binged the entire MCU, and Infinity War was the one that hit me like a brick. And it was also fun because I saw Infinity War the morning that I went and saw, and then like an hour later went and saw Endgame. And so I kind of got that full experience of watching Infinity War into Endgame, and it became this one big kind of almost this 6-hour movie in a sense for me. But I loved Infinity War. I loved the cliffhanger. I loved where it left off, and again, I didn't quite get the full effect of it because I didn't get that whole year of seeing it end there and then having to wait a year. I had to wait an hour, so I didn't get the full effect of it. But I loved Avengers Infinity War on that first watch. And now let's take a look at 3 films that I haven't seen, but I've heard amazing things about, and I think they have a shot at cracking the Letterboxd 4. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, Chronicle, and Superman. Now, obviously, I'm going to watch Superman, trying to watch as many of the Superman films as I can before going to see the new Superman film in theaters. And from when I post this, in the next day or two, essentially, from when this gets posted is when I'll have seen the new Superman. But I just want to go back, and I haven't seen the only real Superman film I guess I've seen is Man of Steel. And so I'm excited to go back and watch the Christopher Reeve Superman films. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, I don't know anything about this film. I'm not the biggest DC, I'm not super deep into all of the DC films. And so, especially when it comes to an animated Batman, I don't know if this is like the first of a series or if this is like a standalone Batman thing. All I know is it's rated very highly on Letterboxd. And there's also another YouTuber, Austin Burke, who I recommend you, if you somehow have found my videos and don't know Austin Burke, go watch his videos and subscribe to him. But he has a list on Letterboxd, and I think this, of just all superhero films that he's seen, I think this is the highest that he has on his list that I haven't seen. And I've just seen it on a whole lot of other people's like lists as one of the best, not just Batman films, but superhero films in general. And so I'm just super excited to check that out. And then Chronicle is a very fun one that I don't know much about it other than, I'm trying to blank on it. Trask, I think is the director's last name, but he directed the Fant Four Stick a couple years ago, and so that's why the reason I know of this film is so many people were so mad at that Fantastic Four, the 20, what would that have been, 2014 Fantastic Four, 2015, somewhere in that range. People hated that so much because they're like, how is this the same guy that directed Chronicle? And then I've got a buddy as well that I know he likes Chronicle, and I've heard him talk about it. And so I was excited. It's one that I've always wanted to watch, and I'm also really excited to put it in here because I don't want this month. I know it's going to be majority this, but I don't want it to be just exclusively Marvel and DC, and that's it. And I don't watch anything else, And so I want it to be a thing where I'm getting superhero films, when we can get The Incredibles in there, when we can get Chronicle, when we can get any superhero film that's not just under the Marvel or DC umbrella. I want to give those an opportunity. And again, I've just heard great things about Chronicle, so I'm excited to watch that. And as always, like I say in these videos, these 10 films that I just named, I'm for sure going to watch those these month, but I always end up watching way more than these 10 anyway, so make sure you leave your comments down below what superhero films you recommend I watch this month, what some of your favorites are, and I'll watch as many of those as I can as well. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, put those comments down below of your favorite superhero films, and also just let me know what you think of any of these films that I have talked about. Are these some of your favorites? What's your favorite superhero? Maybe is there a superhero that you love that maybe the films aren't as great, and so like some characters that I might just kind of pass on because I'm like like the Incredible Hulk or something that I'm like I don't know if any of the Incredible or any of the Hulk movies are gonna be my thing, but maybe that's your favorite character from the comics. I'm just interested to kind of hear about your favorite superheroes in general down below in the comments. And if you'd like to like this video and then subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos in this series or any of the other series on my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.